Hi, I'm Alicia, and today I'm going to talk about some questions and answers that I've gotten about event planning. One of the questions that came in was about the budget for an event. So the actual question was, how do you budget for an event? Well, a budget for an event is going to vary depending on the event. So your 5K is going to look different than a gala, than a silent auction. Um, it's just the nature of things. So I can't give you specifically a one size fits all budget, but let me tell you what goes into the budget and how you kind of come up with those numbers so that you can create your own for whatever event that you're putting on. So the first thing is all budgets consist of income and expenses. So as far as income goes, you're going to write down every source of income that you're expecting from this event. So is it ticket sales? Is it table sales? Is it registrations? Um, Sponsorships would go into the income. Um, so you'll have all those things. You'll sit down, think through the event and all the different ways that you're going to have income coming in. Are you going to be selling something like a t-shirt? That would go into income. Everything that you will get revenue from is what you're going to put down in income. Then you're going to go through expenses. So those are the funds that's going to be needed to complete the event. And you're going to sit down and again think of everything. And it's going to depend per event what those expenses are. If it's a 5K, you'll have the race shirts, the race bags, registration. Well, not registration, that's income. Advertising, marketing, promotions, printing, food, awards, all those things. And some places, especially where I live, you have to pay for officers at certain points during the race. So, like major intersections, you have to pay for an officer to be there. So that would go into your expenses. The race clock might have to go into a 5K expense. So just sit down and you would think about all your expenses. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and write down the cost. You'll have to do some research if this is your first time doing it. Ask other people that have, put on an event similar. You might have to get on the internet and search for different things for prices. But you're going to put down the price for everything that's associated with your event. If you have to pay for everything, then you want to know that cost. Now, as you get going, you may be able to say, oh, well, we know so-and-so who is willing to donate this or donate that. And so you can get a lot of your things for free that way, but don't start out thinking that way. Start out planning out as if you had to pay for everything. That will help you really hone in on budget items and what's really needed and what's not, which will help you narrow down that budget. Let's see, if you have a gala, maybe with a silent auction, then you're going to have speaker expenses. You're going to have table decorations, printing for invitations, brochures, pledge cards, program. Silent auctions have their own expenses. So you have maybe some incentives for silent auctions, decorations, bid sheets, pins, travel, lodging for your guest speaker if they're coming from out of town. All of those things would go into your expense budget. And then what you want to do is budget at the highest cost. So even whenever you're looking and at different items, like say printing, you might have 3 different places that you go to find out what printing costs would be for whatever it is you're doing. Um, you on those items you could probably go middle of the road, but for most things you're going to try and budget at the higher cost, simply to give yourself some room in the budget. Because if you wind up going something cheaper, that's great. But sometimes things don't work out that way, and you have to go with either the lowest or the highest. I don't normally like to go lowest necessarily on some things. So you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room and some leeway. Then you're also in this budget. You're going to price your sponsorships to cover most of your expenses, if not all. And what you're going to do is it's kind of a pyramid. So it's going to be you're going to have a lot of smaller sponsorships. Those are going to go the fastest. And so you'll have a lot. So think of a pyramid. And so you'll have a lot at the bottom of the smaller sponsorships. And then each level gets a little bit narrower, which is also good too, because your most expensive will be at the top, and you're going to have a very limited number of those. That keeps it exclusive, and that keeps your costs down too. And you probably will want to budget in any sponsorship expenses that you're going to incur in your budget. Sometimes we don't think about that, but depending on how you've structured your sponsorship, there may be some cost involved in fulfilling your end of the sponsorship. So keep that in mind. You'll want to put that into the expenses. Hopefully, you've already put those expenses or accounted for those expenses in the price of your sponsorship. But if you haven't, you really need to put it into your expense budget. Ideally, though, you're going to put it into your sponsorship package. Let's see, what else? We've covered that the different levels. The higher the price, of course, the fewer we have, but it's also going to be the hardest ones to get. So your lower level and mid-level sponsorships you should get without much problem. If you aren't getting those sponsorships, then you go back and rework your sponsorship and see what your target business is looking for and needs, and try and put that in there. It's a troubleshooting for sponsorships. But as far as budgets go, we went through income. So we're putting in everything, every way this event is going to bring in revenue. Then we're going to put in expenses, and we're going to sit down and we're going to list everything, every cost that will be associated with this event. And we're going to budget at a higher amount. This gives you a cushion, it gives you padding, and it makes you look really great whenever you come in below budget. And like I said, even though you may know that you're able to get something donated to you, put in the expenses as if you were buying it. That way, if plan A doesn't work, I mean, for some reason, the person you counted on for donating isn't donating this year, you have some room, some wiggle room to go purchase it if you needed it, or just take it out of the budget. Either way. So that is the tip, or the answer to the Q, that for budgeting for an event. And I hope this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments. Thank you. See you later.